Are you just kind of over it when it comes to your friends? Hi there, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Saira, the show where I answer your questions about spirituality, personal growth, and relationships. So today's question comes from Shiba. Shiba says, I feel like I've outgrown my friends, but I am really lonely. Where can I find a better group of friends? She just says it. I feel like I've outgrown my friends, but I'm really lonely. Where can I find a better group of friends? Oh, Shiba. Well, the first thing is, good for you for knowing you've outgrown your friends. That's a hard realization to come from or to come to say, oh, we're not really matched anymore. We're not interested in the same things. We're just kind of different flavors altogether. It can be painful. It can feel like a breakup, almost like a romantic breakup when you lose, especially if you're part of a group of friends and then suddenly you're not part of that group anymore. Really painful. So, with adult friendships is different, right? I don't know if you've noticed this, but when I was like in my teens and before, and even my 20s, I found it so easy to make friends, right? Because you would have these shared activities. You'd either be in schools together, or you'd be doing some like clubs, or even a new job. Like everybody was kind of in the same phase of life and moving together as a cohort, and so you found your friends. As an adult, I find it a bit more challenging, right, to find people who are kind of on the same vibe as you, especially if you've been moving with a particular group for a while and suddenly it doesn't click anymore. It's challenging. So I'll say that up front, that it's not easy to make friendships in adulthood. One of the things that I've encouraged my clients, this is a common question that I hear because often in therapy, people will start coming to therapy and start changing and then start realizing, like, oh, I kind of let people treat me badly. Like, what? These aren't really friends. These are not people who I want to keep it. Like, and it's like this like thing that happens to people, like, oh, I'm in a situation. And so, yeah, often they will realize that it's not the right group. And so the first thing that I tell them to do is get really clear on the type of friend that you are. Okay, so are you the type of friend who plans things and invites people? Or are you the type of friend who is there for a shoulder to cry on? Are you the type of friend who remembers or doesn't remember birthdays? Like, what kind of friend are you? And getting really honest with yourself about what kind of friend you are. And when you kind of flip it like that, when rather than saying, where can I find friends, rather than saying that, to be more like, oh, I know that I would make a good friend, right? I'm ready to like be a giver rather than a taker, then the pressure changes. I find that it's almost like people like tune into a different vibration when they realize that they want to be a good friend rather than they want to have a good friend. And it's incredible what happens to people as they find friends who are matched with them in adulthood. It's just like people just like glow, they blossom. One of the ways we get there is by this self-reflection, right? What does it mean to be a good friend? So the first thing, as I said, adult friendships are harder to make because we're not all in the same cohort doing the same thing. We're all kind of in different places in our lives. We're doing different things. That's another thing I would really encourage you to make friends in different age brackets and at different phases of life than you. I find it creates so much richness when you have kind of multi-generational, different ages, different like life interests all together in a space. And when your values are the same, when your values are shared. I mean, some of us have that in our family, some of us really don't. But just kind of be open and notice if you're having a little bit of ageism where you're only looking for people in your own age cohort. Maybe you want to expand your search criteria. So that's the piece about self-reflection. The other thing in the meantime, so Shiba and others who are watching, in the meantime, while you've kind of left one group of friends, you haven't yet found your new group of friends, this is a time to really get comfortable with being alone. Now, little caveat here. So we are social mammals. We are not meant to live and work and play alone. It's not part of how we're designed. So I want to say that up front. And also, your voice has to be the loudest voice in your head. Okay, I'll say that again. Your voice the best part of you, the best version of you, that voice should be the loudest voice in your head, not the voice of a family member, a partner, a child, a friend, society, the media. Like, those voices will be there. They will be there because we absorb that. But the loudest voice, the voice that you kind of keep coming back to, should be your own. And sometimes when we're constantly surrounded by other people, we don't have time to actually listen. We don't even know that that voice exists, much less time to listen to that voice. I call myself an extrovert, right? Like, I like to be around people and I get energized when I'm around people. And I was really afraid of being alone because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. I didn't want to be alone with my pain that I was not acknowledging, right? So that's another thing to ask yourself, is if you're wanting to kind of fill up your life with friends, is there something internally that you might be avoiding, something that you need to look at and something you need to work through? When I got comfortable being alone, I became a much better friend, right? Because then when my friends couldn't follow through on something or a plan was changed, it wasn't personal. I wasn't like, oh, now I'm alone. It's like, okay, so they've got their lives. And I was comfortable being alone if something changed. As you're figuring out who you are and what you're about in this new version of yourself, go to places that you like. That's another way to meet people, to meet friends. I mean, there's apps, like there's different things you can do, and you can look into all of that. But if we're looking at like the old fashioned kind of surrounding yourself with people who are interested in similar things, so that could be online groups that you join, that could be in-person things, like you maybe, like for me, I love reading, love it. And so the library, right? I go to the library and just hang out there sometimes. Not like I'm like trolling for friends, but the people there have a similar interest as I do. They're interested in reading. If you're interested in a particular sport, join a recreational softball team in your neighborhood, or like get creative, because the friend isn't going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, I want to be your friend. Like, you also have to put yourself out there. It's kind of like dating almost, right? Where you there'll be a few coffees that you have that you'll be like, oh, I do not want a second coffee with that person. It's okay. And filtering through. And then if we want to go like quantum on this, if we want to go like magic and miracles, then it's about alignment, right? The more aligned you are to yourself, to your calling, to your vision of your life, your cherished, one of my teachers calls it your cherished, what does a cherished life look like for you? And so if getting clarity on that and knowing what that is, it's hard to describe why it happens, but I know that it happens. You'll start attracting people. And those people who didn't really fit, they'll just kind of start fading away, because you won't be at the same level anymore, right? You won't be in the same kind of space anymore with them. So get to know you. Do some self-reflection about what kind of friend you want to be, and go places that you like and see if, and again, you might not meet anyone in that place, but you're sending that vibe out into the ether, right? That I'm ready, I'm out there, I'm willing. And so those are my thoughts on that question. Thank you for your question, Shiba. If anyone else who's watching has a question, send me a note at the email address at the end of this video. And until next time, take care.